Normally I don't show you guys the before, but me and my family have been sick, and so I didn't do my introduction. So just sit back and watch me clean this piece. And if you want to see me get it colorful and do this, then stay here. I know in a video before I told you guys how I took the GREENEZ Cleaner. This is the finishing cleaner, and I took the piece outside and hosed it off, but I didn't show you. So now I'm going to show you. What I did is I sprayed the entire piece with the GREENEZ Cleaner at full strength. I didn't dilute it at all, and I let it sit there for about 15 minutes. When you use this technique to clean, you want to make sure there is no particle board, MDF, anything on there. You want to make sure it's solid wood because you don't want to get that stuff wet. So after it sat for 15 minutes, I took a fine steel wool and I scrubbed the piece down. And then what I did is I took my hose and put a little bit of water on it and scrubbed it again. After I did my second scrub down, I rinsed it really well, and then I, for some reason, didn't show it, but I took a microfiber cloth and I wiped all the excess water out, and then I also took the drawer and opened everything and sat it in the sun, so that way I knew that it would dry thoroughly. I'm not a huge fan of the carvings on the doors, so I'm going to take a 2-part wood filler, which is similar to a Bondo, and I am going to fill those in, so that way we just have a smooth surface, because later on I'm going to put transfers over it. So you're just going to mix these in with each other. It's the hardener and then also the filler that's in the can. And you mix those together and you only have about 10 minutes to work with it, but I'm going to take a spreader and I'm going to push that in to the carving first so that I can fill all of the cracks and crevices. I'm going to allow that to dry for about an hour and I'm going to sand it off, and then I'm going to repeat the process. The second time that I do it, I'm going to smooth over it like I'm almost frosting a cake, and then I'm going to sand it with a high grit sandpaper so that way everything is smooth. That way when I paint over it, you're not going to see any of the lines. I'm doing a lot of blues and greens lately, so I wanted to bring some warm colors out, and we're going to be using some Country Chic paint, and I'm going to use the Watercolor Lush Decor transfer. This is one of their smaller transfers by Redesign with Prima, and we're going to just make some really pretty springtime colors. Once I've prepped this piece, so I've cleaned it and I've scuff sanded the entire piece, I'm going to put Sunset Glow on here. I'm going to do 2 layers of Sunset Glow on this piece. Now, I want to talk to you guys a little bit about something. So, Country Chic's paint is an all-in-one paint. So there's a built-in primer in it, right? But if I wanted to use less coats of Sunset Glow, because it is one of those colors like reds and yellows and things like that sometimes benefit with a gray primer underneath. If I had to do it again, I probably would have put a light gray primer underneath, but it doesn't matter. We're going in with a second layer and it's got pretty good coverage. This is just going to be our base layer for when we blend later. The colors I'm going to be using are all Country Chic, and we've got Raspberry Sorbet, which is a bright pink. We've got Fresh Mustard, which is a mustardy yellow. We've got Yellow Wellies, which is a nice bright yellow color, and then Sunset Glow, which is the color that we used on the base. So you're going to see here that we have 2 coats of the color on here. It's dried. And now I'm going to randomly place all 4 of those colors on this piece. Now, this is where you really need to trust the process, because you're like, what is she doing? These colors all will blend really nice together, so it doesn't matter which ones I put next to each other. They're all very similar, and you know, when you get the pink and the yellow, you're going to get an orange. So it doesn't matter where you place these if you're using these particular colors. If you're not using these particular colors, but you're using this technique, make sure you're cognizant of the colors you're putting next to each other and what kind of mixes they will make when they blend. So right now, we're just going to randomly place these all over and allow it to dry. I did say we need to allow it to dry, but you don't have to wait super long afterwards. So we're going to end up blending these anyways. This was just so that I knew exactly where the colors were going to go. So now I'm going to go over those colors that I already placed with another layer, and then I'm going to lightly start blending them together with the brushes of the paint. So we've got a different brush for each paint color, and I'm just going to lightly start blending them into each other and just go vertical, horizontal, do circles. I'm going to make sure that I keep this misted. And what this is going to do is it's going to soften everything together. And so we're just going to go in different directions and start putting it together. This is a clay-based paint, so these are going to blend and mix really, really nicely. Because with this technique, I am using the actual paint brushes to blend together, you can have a paper towel or a rag next to you, and you can just wipe those paintbrushes off if they get cross-contaminated with the colors too much. But once I'm happy with my blend and I'm done doing the technique with the actual paintbrushes, I do mist over the entire thing, and I take my Caddie Brush, which is my clean, dry, neutral brush, and I do a softening and one final blend over the entire area. I want to do some light distressing on this piece, and so I'm going to take my 3x4 electric ray, and I am going to take a high grit sandpaper and just go over the entire piece. This helps also smooth the finish and do a little bit of light distressing. Normally I do the top before I paint, but I really wasn't sure what I was going to do, and so I am just going to strip down the top by sanding it with my 3x4 electric ray. The finish is failing on it, so it's a lot easier to sand it. So what I did is I started with an 80 grit, went to 100 grit, went to a 120 grit until I had sanded the entire finish off. Although these wheels made it really easy to push this around, I removed them because they were not pretty. So they were actually put in there with screws. I unscrewed them and took them off, and then I am taking the top and I am staining it with a water-based walnut stain by Lignocolor. This is their light walnut. I really enjoy this stain because I can use it inside, it has no smell, and I really think that it takes really nicely to wood. So that is what I did, and I'm going to allow it to completely dry. I'm going to use one of the smaller transfers by Redesign with Prima, and this one's called Watercolor Lush. I am a huge fan of watercolor designs. I actually have a huge tattoo on my arm that's watercolor, but I really like this, and I think these colors go really nicely with the colors of the paint. And so I took it away from the protective backing, and I am applying it directly to the paint after the paint has thoroughly dried. There is no sealer on the paint right now. It does better when you apply it directly to the paint, but we are going to apply it. This is a transfer tool I'm using. It does come with a burnishing stick, but the transfer tool is inexpensive and I really like it. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to burnish it and take it a little bit at a time and pull that protective backing off. Now, if you are doing this and you pull the transfer up and it doesn't transfer right away, that's okay. Put the plastic back down, burnish it more, and then it will transfer over to your piece. Just be patient and gentle when you do this, and once you are done, you pull it off, and I burnish it with my hand, and then I also take a microfiber cloth and I rub it and burnish it as well. I'm going to use Country Chic's clear wax to seal this entire piece. Now, this is an all-in-one paint, so you don't have to seal it, but I do really like how this richens the color up. You can see once you put the wax on it, how it just kind of deepens those colors. So I really like that. Plus, an extra protection is never a bad idea. And you always have to seal your transfers. It doesn't matter what kind of paint you're putting it on, the transfer itself needs to be sealed. And you can seal it with your favorite top coat. You generally want to stay with a water-based top coat. You don't want to use a polyurethane or it's going to eat at your transfer. And you can also seal it with waxes. So that's what we're going to do here is we're going to seal the transfer with the clear wax, and we're going to put this over the wax over the entire piece. Once I'm done putting the wax on the entire piece, I'm going to wipe off all the excess with a microfiber cloth, and I'm also going to buff it in so that way it is nice and buffed and it's got a nice sheen to it. Some of the carvings were just screaming at me to put white wax on them, so it's easier to wipe back colored wax if you put it on over the clear wax. And so I'm just adding white wax in different areas to add just a little bit more dimension. And I'm going to wipe it back right away with a microfiber cloth. So this isn't going to be super dramatic, but it's going to add just a little bit of depth here. And one of the things we need to do is we need to make sure we seal the top, and this is completely dry. So I am just taking Country Chic's clear coat and I'm taking their sponge applicator and I am applying that to the top so that we can seal it and protect it. I cleaned the hardware. It was a little bit dark, and so we're going to take Cosmic Ray Gold, which is actually kind of an orange color, and we're going to change the hardware to look like it's this orange gold color, which I thought would look really nice with the warm colors of the piece. This is an oil-based wax, so once it cures, it is going to self-seal. So make sure you let it sit and fully dry, and then it'll cure and it won't rub off. Okay guys, this video is done. This piece is done. I hope you guys found that helpful. And really, until next time, I have a really cool idea here in the next couple of days. I'm trying to slow down a little bit because my whole family came down with COVID, so we are a little bit sick. If you guys are not subscribed, make sure you're hitting the subscribe button. Okay guys, and then until next time, I will see you guys later, and happy creating. Bye!
You as you drive, do you know I'm looking, and I can't help but smile. Do you know how much I love you? You put my favorite song on, I put my feet up, and we just sing along, and I can't help